G'day everyone, it's Annette from Alchemy Art. Today I'm running through how I do these gorgeous wave plates. I've already started one and I've put my white sand down the bottom and I've put in 2 bits of the Chameleon powders in the background. The first is Chameleon powder in a green gold, which is closest to the sand, and a Chameleon powder blue-green, which is across the middle. Now I'll do the top section and I'll be using the NYX Pro Chameleon powder in blue violet. Basically all I do is I use a soft paintbrush and I virtually paint the powders in and use the brush to spread the powder around. You need to pay particular attention to any crevices and ensure your colour gets in there too, and I also like to blend it down into the bottom colours as well. So there it is, it's beautiful. Now I'm on to doing my base, and I'm using Platinum 360 Plus epoxy resin, and I decant 3 little containers of about 60 mils each. In one I'm putting Just Resin Phthalo Blue epoxy paste, mixing really well. The second one is Just Resin Turquoise Basic epoxy paste, mixing really well. And in the third one it's clear and I'm adding some A1 Pigments Australia in Super Flash Blue. In a separate cup I've got 100 mils of local beach sand that's been cleaned, and I've added in some resin on top of that and then thoroughly mixed. In most of this video I'm going to speed up just to cut down on time, but this first layer, it doesn't really matter if you work dark to light, light to dark. I'm putting down my dark colours first, so my phthalo blue epoxy paste mixed with the resin at the top, then goes in my turquoise basics mixed with resin in the middle. When that cup's empty, I added in some more clear to give a shallow water look in front of that. And finally goes on the clear with the Super Flash Blue. After that's done, I'm putting down my sand. The white sand in front of this was done in the same manner, so just mixed with resin and then spread out with a popsicle stick. To blend that in and make it look more seamless, I add clear resin in front of it, over the top and just behind where the water meets it. To embellish this area, I'm now putting in some shells. Some I put upside down, some I put right way up. And I just keep on going until I feel like I've got enough in place. And then I put on a little bit more clear resin over the top of all the shells that I've just put in. To finish this layer, I break up a little piece of dry coral and sprinkle that all over, and then I've covered up the piece overnight with a food tent. It's 14 hours later now, and I'm removing the piece from the silicone mould. It just makes doing the waves easier without the mould there at the edges. The back is gorgeous and I'm happy with that. I need to just sand the front lightly with some 800 grit wet dry sandpaper and put on my PPE. For all my waves, I'll be using Just Resin Ocean Coat. I've mixed up my resin. I've decanted 3 lots of about 60 mils and one of about 10. In the 10 mils, I'm adding Just Resin Titanium White epoxy paste and Just Resin Fluoro Blue Green powder, so it'll glow in the dark a little bit. Whenever you use a powder in resin, you need to mix it far more thoroughly than you do a paste or a tint. I usually start slowly, fold the resin over the top of the powder, and then speed up and mix it really, really well. In one of the larger cups, I'm adding Just Resin Phthalo Blue epoxy paste and mixing well. And to this, I'm also adding some A1 Pigments Australia Super Flash Blue powder and thoroughly combine that in as well. I drizzle a bit of this into a separate little cup that just has clear in, and this will become my shoreline colour, so very pale transparent. In another cup I'm mixing in Just Resin Turquoise Basic epoxy paste, and I mix that thoroughly as well. And into this one I'm going to add some sparkle powder, also into the shoreline colour, but in the turquoise colour I'm also putting in a bit of the A1 Pigments Super Flash Blue powder. Again, I fold over the resin over the top of the powder, start slowly and then mix thoroughly. Lastly, I mix in the shoreline colour thoroughly with the sparkle powder that I've put into that. On to making the waves. So to begin with, I pour in clear resin and sort of marking where I want the wave to go. That's followed by my very transparent shoreline colour, my turquoise basic mid colour, and then the phthalo blue. I use my craft heat gun, go quickly all over the surface to pop bubbles and soften the resin. Then I'm using a silicone makeup brush to just pull the resin into any of the vacant spots and push it right out to the edges. The makeup brush also helps blend the colours into each other. Then I'll use my hardware heat gun, and it's on a low heat setting. Move quickly over the piece. This will also help soften and blend the colours, but pop bubbles as well. On to blowing out the wave. Re-stir the white mix in resin with a popsicle stick, and then let that drip off the edge, but still have enough on the stick to run it across the edge of the clear that you've marked in where you want your wave to go. Then have your heat gun on low heat but high blow and almost parallel to the surface of your piece. Aim the blow in just behind the white line that you've marked out and blow the wave backwards and slowly move across the piece as you go. Come back in behind that section that you've blown out and blow that wave further back into the background. Then finally, to break up the white and create the beautiful lacing effect, you use a little butane torch and you rapidly move over the white section. The lacing will continue to develop and you'll end up with these gorgeous waves. Then I cover it overnight again with a food tent and come back to it the next day. For my second wave, I've mixed up the ocean coat resin again, and I'm going to only use clear resin as I've already got blue in the background and some white with a little bit of the fluoro powder. I'm just showing you how I prep the back. I opened up a plastic bag, cut it in a circle shape the same size as my plate, and put it in place with some tape. Elevate my piece once again on some upturned cups on the work surface. Lay in clear where I want my front of the wave to go, put clear in the background, hit it with my craft heat gun to soften and pop bubbles, then spread it around again with the silicone makeup brush, pushing it right up to the edges and into any spaces that are bare. Hopefully you can see it a bit better this time, but I'm putting on the white now, so re-stirring the mix and letting it drip off the edge first and then running it along where I've put in the clear where I want the wave front to go. You just take your time with this, and it doesn't matter if you haven't got enough white on your stick. You can re-dip it back in and put some more on, or you can get to the other side, and as I'm doing now, and go back across if you want to put it a bit thicker. It's totally up to you. You can even use a baby wipe sprayed with isopropyl alcohol and wipe it off completely and redefine your edge again in clear, and then put your white down again. Then it's on to blowing out the wave in the same manner as my first one. The heat gun is on a low heat setting, high blow, and I'm aiming the blow in just behind where I've marked in the white, and I'm moving slowly across that white line, moving the whole time as I go. I continue all the way across over to the other side, and then I use one hand and I gently tilt backwards by lifting up the sand edge and put my heat gun blow in behind again, pushing the wave further back into the background. Once I'm happy with that, I use my little butane torch and move quickly over the white area to break up the white and create the lacing. You just need to make sure you don't use the heat continuously in one spot. You need to continually move or you'll burn it. And there we go, we have our second beautiful wave. Then I'll cover this one up overnight and come back tomorrow. It's 12 hours later now. I've mixed up some more ocean coat and I'm just using the clear again, plus some white with a teeny tiny bit of the fluoro powder in it. This wave, I'm not going to do the white all the way along, but you still need to lay out where you want that wave to go. So once I've done that, it's filling in the background with the clear like I did before, hit it with my craft heat gun to pop any bubbles and soften it so I can move it around easily with the makeup brush as I did before. Then it's on to putting in the white, and as I said, I'm not going to go all the way along on this wave. I'm just going to put a bit on each side and a little bit in the middle to give the impression of a breaking wave in the distance. If you need to adjust the shape of your wave, whether it's clear or with the white on it, the way I do it is to use a baby wipe, spray with isopropyl alcohol, wrap it around my finger, and then I slowly and gently move it along and pull off the bit that I'm unhappy with or reshape it how I want it. For my distant wave that's not going to have the white breaking all the way along, I like to taper the edge to a point, almost like the wave has crashed and it's thicker in the middle and shorter on the ends with the white. Then I move on to blowing out the wave exactly how I've done the other two waves before this. But of course I'm not going to have to go all the way along, just where I've put the white. My heat gun's still on a low heat setting, a high blow, and very low and parallel almost to the surface of my piece. If there's any part of the wave that you're not happy with, even when you've just blown it out, you can wet a baby wipe with some isopropyl alcohol, wrap it around your finger and reshape the wave. It is hardest to do though while the wave is still runny, and it's especially runnier after being blown out. It's easier to do after about an hour when the resin has thickened. And I'm on to using my little butane torch, moving rapidly over the white areas to break the white up and create the beautiful lacing of my final wave. This is how it looks up close. You can see the lovely lacing there in the 3 spots. So I'll cover it up again overnight with a food tent and come back tomorrow to do the top coat. For my top coat, or flat coat as some people call it, I'm using Just Resin Art Coat, which is a 1-to-1 epoxy. These flood coats usually have extra UV stabilizers in them to help protect your artwork. I've mixed it up and I've just poured it out clear, using my craft heat gun to pop any bubbles and soften it. Then I put on an extra glove, and I'm using my gloved hand to push the resin around where I need it to go. At the same time, I'm looking across the surface under the light from my ring light to ensure that I've fully covered the entire piece, pulling the resin over my shells and ensuring it's fully covered. Then I take that glove off, and I use my hardware heat gun to pop any more bubbles, and it also helps the resin self-level as it softens it. As a final measure to ensure that I've got all the bubbles popped, I use my little butane again and quickly move over the piece to pop any further bubbles. And at the same time, I'm looking over the piece. If I see any fluff or hairs, I pick them out with tweezers or an awl. When I'm done and I'm happy that the surface is clean, I cover it up again with a food tent until the resin cures. Hopefully this is the last layer. If I did have to repeat the top coat, I'd lightly sand it, give it a good clean and redo it. Hey guys, so I can get this video out to you today, Friday, like I usually do. I won't show you the one that I was doing. I actually had a bit of a mishap and ended up having to resand and redo the top coat 3 times. I used the wrong resin in one, had cat fur in another, and one of my hairs in a third one. So it looks good now, but it's sticky. So what I'll do is I'm showing you one that I've done before, and next Friday I'll show you how this one turned out before I get on to a new video. Thanks for watching everyone. Please like and share and leave me a comment, good or bad, and I'll reply to you. Have a great day. Bye.